Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to talk about Escape from Tarkov. I've been putting this off for quite some time, I'll be completely honest. I was really hoping that Battlestate Games, the developers behind Escape from Tarkov, a Russian developer, would release more information on the game, we'd hear a little bit more about it before I actually sat down and gave you guys my thoughts on the game, at least what we know about it thus far, what we've seen of it thus far. So that time has finally come. They've put out some information. We know a little bit more about the game, about the systems that they're looking to put into the game when it's finally finished. And also just today, we saw the release of their very first developer diary, one of which I hope is many. I love seeing this kind of stuff. They have English dub over it, and like, I want to hear the developer talk. I want to see you guys working at your desk. That's the kind of game that I'm going to be more willing to spend money on in early state. The kind of game that I'm going to be willing to support in an early development state, to play in alpha, to give feedback to. One that has an interactive developer. That means a lot to me, especially when it comes to smaller indie studios. So they're headed in the right direction with that. Now, this developer diary also highlighted some pretty awesome animation work they're doing. In fact, the animations were one of the things that stood out for me when I saw the first trailer that we saw, the trailer that you guys are seeing right here. So I've got some positive things to say about the game, things that I'm excited for, and also some current concerns. So we're going to address all of that. I want to start first and foremost by talking about the things that genuinely excite me about Escape from Tarkov. I mean, number one are those animations that I talked about. You see it in all of the footage that we've seen from Tarkov, not just some of it, it's all there. The level of detail that has been put into the player animations, whether the player's interacting with the environment, interacting with their weapons, the animations that you get when the weapon is firing, the recoil compensation. You know, the character dealing with pain and bullet damage. Like, it's all really apparent and it's all really damn well done. One of the first things they talk about in this very first dev diary are those animations and why they're important to them. They made it very clear that they wanted to try and animate every possible element of player interaction. So opening a trunk, picking up an item, reloading your weapon, you know, slapping the bolt shut, pulling the bolt back, dealing with the jam, which there are going to be jams, dealing with weapon malfunctions. Like, they're going for the details, and that is where the game already impresses me. If they really can nail the level of detail that they look to be trying to capture with Tarkov, that's awesome. Because you know the vibe that I get from Tarkov when they start talking about that kind of stuff? Good old Stalker. Stalker, Call of Pripyat, the most recent game. I mean, Stalker to me is the definitive first-person survival experience. Like, when it comes to a military-focused first-person survival experience, nothing does it better than the Stalker games. They're excessively underrated, they have a cult following, some amazing mod support, and they are still games that I would recommend playing to this day. Do yourself a favor, pick up Pripyat the next time you see it on a Steam sale, grab the Misery mod, and enjoy. It's a game that you're going to be able to put an insane amount of time into. One of the few open-world, first-person shooter survival experiences that you can put hundreds and hundreds of hours into. I get that vibe from Tarkov, and that's a good thing. And it's not just because the developers are Russian. Yes, I'll admit that's a big part of it. The music choice that they have in these trailers is decidedly Russian, and I absolutely love it. Not to mention, there's something about the Russian language that has just always done something for me. I think a lot of that goes back to my love for you know, videos like, you know, movies like The Hunt for Red October and so on and so forth. Extensive weapon modding system. You know, there's a lot of stuff that the game is talking about doing and they're showing is doing. The modding system looks insane. It looks fantastic. We also got to see the inventory and looting system early on, which also looks equally fantastic. It's a grid-based inventory system that is supposed to emulate your character's chest rig because you are a member of a PMC. And again, this is one of the big positives for me. This isn't DayZ. You're not some washed-up survivor. You choose at the start of the game one of two factions. That's kind of how Tarkov is going to work. You either a member of the USEC, which is a European ran faction, or the BEAR, the BEAR, which is the Russian ran faction. In this instance, the Russians are the good guys, and the Europeans are the bad guys. And this is the backdrop for the entire story that is Escape from Tarkov. Now, I did a little bit of research regarding this before we move forward, and I wanted to know who Battlestate Games was. Like, this was important to me. Like, who are these guys? You know, what have they made? I couldn't find anything on their base website because it's being rebuilt to fit the theme of Escape from Tarkov, but a little bit more research, some lucky stumbling into comments on the interwebs, and I found out that these are the same guys who have been developing and are working on Contract Wars. Contract Wars is a free-to-play, in-browser, Unity-developed first-person shooter that has insanely detailed player and weapon animations. Yes, you can kind of see the thing. I've got some small gameplay from what is a pre-alpha trailer that they have on Steam right now because they're trying to greenlight a standalone version of Contract Wars. Obviously not really the same type of experience as what they're going for with Tarkov, but a game that is very much in the same lore. And this is one of the things that really gave me, I guess you could say, a little bit more of a good feeling about Tarkov. It made me have a little bit more confidence and trust in what these guys are doing as a small development team, because it's obvious they've made a game, they have a lore, and you can see where they have something to build off already with what's here in Contract Wars. The animations, the weapon models, you know, the direction. Like, they're not foreign to this type of thing. They're just trying to put it in a new setting, trying to give it a new theme, and take it in a new direction, and I'm on board for that. So that was cool to find out. It was nice to finally get some information about these guys as a developer. So obviously, a lot of the big positives there. Like I said, the game is seemingly going for a high level of detail, of attention to detail, and that's something that matters a lot to me. I love knowing that I'm going to have to deal with, you know, jamming. They talk about this in the animations trailer. By the way, I'm going to have all these videos linked down in the description below, starting with the developer diary. Do yourself a favor and check it out. It showcases some awesome stuff they're working on, in-studio stuff, just them working on it. I'm all for that. So all the stuff going on with weapons, overheating, wear out, reloading, you know, all that stuff is important. They're going for more realistic ballistics and projectile hit physics. They're looking to do a lot of stuff with the character animations, as I said, leaning and going prone. They're also looking to deal with hydration, energy, blood pressure, blood loss. Again, a lot of the things that Stalker did, especially with the Misery mod. They're looking to make it a very detailed experience. I love the idea of that. I'm on board for that, big time. So those are a lot of the big positives for me. I think Tarkov has a lot of promise in terms of its game design direction, and again, a lot of the mechanics that they're aiming to have in the game. Now, my concerns start number one with the current pre-order setup. So you can actually already pre-order this game, just based on the footage that you've seen. Obviously, we haven't really seen any actual in-game gameplay, like someone playing the game. Random person, you or me playing the game. That hasn't happened yet. The first time it will likely happen is if they decide to not put their alpha under NDA. People will no doubt be getting their hands on their alpha, regardless of the rather high price point to guarantee access to the alpha. And this is where I have the biggest issue. There's a $140 version of Escape from Tarkov. It gets you guaranteed access to the closed beta as well as guaranteed participation in the alpha testing. It's the only way you can guarantee participation in the alpha testing. All other versions that say alpha testing are a chance to enter alpha testing. It also gives you a bunch of other random in-game things, which I won't even get started on. That's something that I don't like to comment on until we actually see how the game structure is going to work and find out if any of that stuff could actually be a potential advantage for someone who purchases the $140 package. You're also going to get free access to all subsequent DLCs, essentially a season pass. Game's not even in beta yet, and we're talking season pass stuff. I don't like to see that kind of thing, but I understand they wanted to make a more expensive package and they wanted to have something to promise to people, so I can get that. What I really don't like is the way that they have people enter into alpha testing. Elite Dangerous did a similar thing because they felt they wanted the most hardcore people, the most hardcore of fans, even though they haven't played your game yet, how can they be proper fans, to be the ones who got into the alpha testing. This was the idea that Frontier had. This is the same theme that Battlestate is using with Escape from Tarkov, and I don't like it. If you want to have some sort of bar for entry for alpha testing, make people fill out a proper application like we used to do back in the day. I was been alpha testing games since I was 14. I used to have to fill out an entire application. Why do I want to be there? You know, what other games have I tested in this state? What can I provide to the developer as a tester? Like, it used to be a bit of work. It wasn't just throw some cash their way and they let you alpha test their game. But restricting alpha access by a paywall is not something I'm on board for. I don't really like the idea of that. Like I said, the price packages themselves are whatever at this point. The standard edition is $44.99. You know, if it's going to be this big proper game, I'm okay with that. Obviously, the safest thing you can do is not pre-order this. Wait for people like me who are looking to get their hands on it for the sake of showing it to you guys. There's surely going to be a bunch of big YouTubers out there, the huge names. I'm sure they'll be covering this game day one once it goes into alpha. I'm sure they'll be given a copy of the game, especially a lot of the dudes who did DayZ stuff. You know, they'll be playing the game. You'll be able to see it. There's no reason to rush into pre-ordering a game like this. But not something I like the way they're handling. Now, one of my other concerns is just how they start the development of this game. Obviously, all the footage we've seen right now, while it is pre-alpha, is showcasing open world environments. You know, it's showing larger scale areas. It's showing all of these components. Will they be there in the first iteration of the alpha, or is this going to be something like Survarium, where we get a PvP deathmatch mode and the game never ends up seeing its open world development state happen? Like, I hope that's not the direction they take. It was a poor excuse for Survarium to be like, we want to test our combat systems, so we made this PvP, you know, these small PvP environments. The thing that sucked is Survarium actually had some potential, and they never went and did the PvE portion of the game, the open world stuff, and they just, you know, they left this to rot on Steam. Who knows if that will ever happen with that game? That's always the risk of buying into an early access game, an early development game, is who knows if the developer will finish it. Now, I really genuinely hope that these guys at Battlestate, this small Russian group, can pull this game off. Like I said, I love the vibe it has. I'm a huge soccer fan, and this is sort of everything I've wanted in a game that blends PvP and PvE in this open world setting, and, you know, then takes a lot of these awesome cues from Stalker. I mean, you look at the inventory management system, like this is for real. Like, you have a backpack with its own grid system, you have a tactical rig that has all of its individual pockets. Like, that's awesome. There's a lot of really great ideas that are already being showcased with this game. I just want to see that all come to fruition. I want to see it happen. I want to play the alpha so badly. Like, I want this to be the game that I've always wanted someone to make. You know, since I really got into Stalker, and then like Wasteland 2 with my brother, him and I always talked about a military-focused survival PvP experience. And a lot of it always was in the theme of Stalker. Like, let's take Stalker, make it open world, throw in some PvP and PvE components, and, you know, like, what game could you have then? Like, you could have the game that I feel so many people are trying so hard to make with all these survival games. Like, let's just copy DayZ and, you know, let's do an H1Z1 thing and just make these games. No, they're not satisfying. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the games don't have level playing fields. You start off as a new player, you've got to spend 3.5 hours wandering across this giant open map that isn't even that interesting in the first place, only to find a pistol, a can of soda, and then get shot in the face by somebody with a sniper rifle. Like, that's not fun. Tarkov isn't going that direction because you choose you're a faction, you're a member of a PMC. You're not going to go into battle with your fists and a pair of shorts and then have to gather all this equipment. Is there a looting system? Yes, but much like Stalker, it's more focused on the acquisition of extra items and additional scopes and optics and magazines to further upgrade your equipment, you know, supplies and gear to keep your character in good shape and condition. I strongly doubt they will have us roll out with anything less than a basic assault rifle, you know, into combat. It's just, you are a member of PMC. Even though this is sort of an end-of-the-world type situation, you're still going to be reasonably equipped when you head out into battle for the first time. So there's a lot of good here. I have typical concerns with this game. A lot of that stuff was put to rest. I had even deeper concerns, like, you know, before I knew what the studio was. I'm glad I did that research. I'm glad I found out what Contract Wars was. I'm actually gonna go check that game out over the next couple days because I want to play it. It looks cool, actually. For a free game, it looks freaking sweet. And also their developer diary. Their developer diary was a great way to get some insight into, like, hey, this is us. This is what we're doing. This is why the animations in this game look so good. It's not because it's pre-rendered. It's because this is the push we're going to make. That attention to detail, they've got me right by the heart. All they got to do is come through with this, and they'll have a true fan. And hopefully, you know, maybe in 1 or 2 years, Tarkov will be something that I'm playing on the channel on a regular basis. Best of luck to Battlestate Games. Honestly, guys, I wish I could say it in Russian. I would. I want you guys to do well. I don't want you to be that developer who throws this in the can, who just takes the money and runs. Don't be that people. You know, show the same sort of passion that I see in your developer diary. Make this game a thing. Make it happen, and bring about the online Stalker experience that so many of us have wanted for so damn long. And if you're sitting there really trying to hold yourself back from purchasing Tarkov and spending way too much money to just get access to the alpha, buy Stalker, call it Pripyat. Install the Misery mod, it's free. And then you'll have, honestly, probably at least a year just to learn how that game even works and to learn not how to die, especially with the Misery mod. It'll hold you over until you can finally get your hands on Tarkov here for a reasonable price. If you guys have any other questions for me regarding my thoughts on Escape from Tarkov, I hope I covered extensively. If there's any thoughts of your own you'd like to share, feel free to throw them down in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.